Hey, thanks for joining us today. This video is going to cover a bunch of auction seasons. We have some states that are in the middle of their spring auctions, some are closing out the spring auctions, and we have a few that are about to begin their summer season. We have a handful of states that have year-round auctions. So this is going to cover what's going on in all of those states, plus some over-the-counter news, a little bit about land banks, and a few surprises along the way. So we're just going to jump straight into it here. If you want to focus on a particular state and skip over the other ones, just use the chapters at the bottom of your video in YouTube, and you'll see them labeled for each separate state, and that way you can just jump to wherever you want to be. So let's get going with the market totals. The last time we made a video on May 13th, we'd added about 250,000 properties. This time we've added 342,985. The vast majority were tax liens, about 337,000 of those. 5,000 or so tax deeds, 735 new foreclosures, and 62 land bank opportunities. And if you break that down by state, those foreclosures, about 500 of them in Florida, 176 in Indiana, and 64 in Colorado. If you look at the over-the-counter ads, these are deeds and liens that you can buy directly. They're not at auction. Maryland had the most with 3,113. Arizona still adding and dropping OTCs, it looks like. Mississippi had a surprise, 253, and then just a few small ones with Alabama, Tennessee, and Arkansas. But the real big story, of course, are the auction properties. These are all of the states that had new auction properties added in the last couple of weeks, and you can see the breakdown by state. Of course, Florida has the vast majority of those. Maryland and Iowa both put in over 5,000, Alabama a couple thousand, Tennessee, Oklahoma, and so forth. Down the list to add up to the 342,000 properties. And if we're talking about new auctions for 2024, we do have a video covering the auction calendar, and we're always adding auctions. They're being added, they're closing out, and we're of course tracking the auctions while they're running to remove properties or add any new ones that get added late. But at this particular moment, we're tracking 1,419 upcoming auctions. We've tracked thousands this year already, but these are just the ones that we know upcoming and have properties to look through. So 1,419 upcoming auctions for you to look through. And if we lay that out, this is our 2024 tax auction calendar. I've highlighted basically any state that has the spring auctions, and we cut off right before Arkansas because they tend to have summer auctions. And so you can see that Maryland and Alabama are in the thick of it, even closing out towards the end, really, for both of those states. Mississippi already passed, like a little blip on the radar in April. Utah is closing out right now. And Florida, we are right in the thick of. That's going to be a big one to talk about. Then we move into Oklahoma. I don't have Iowa on this chart yet. We have some Iowa on the site right now. And of course we have Arkansas coming up with the summer, like I mentioned, so that's on the horizon. And lastly, there's a whole host of states that have auctions year-round. This isn't even all of them. This is just the ones when we created this graphic for 2024. But there are many states that have year-round auctions that we will talk about in this video as well. So let's move on and get to our first state. Let's talk about Florida. We're going to do it very briefly because we just put out a 40-minute deep dive video just last week. You absolutely should watch it if you are interested in Florida tax lien auctions, because we go through each of the different auction house companies that are selling these liens. We show you where to find these properties, how to research them, how to buy them, and we're tracking well over 600,000. It might even be 700,000 liens right now. It's a very large auction season this year for Florida. We have all 68 counties on the site, let's take a quick look over there. I'm not going to go too far because we have that other video you really should watch. But here is the season so far. There were a few early ones in May, but right now, today, we're looking at Broward and then moving into a lot of auctions coming up. And then May 31st on Friday, there's quite a few. And then June 1st, there's a ton, especially some of the bigger counties, Miami-Dade, Marion, and Orange, 20 to 30,000 properties in some of these lien auctions. So there's a lot to pay attention to in Florida just on the tax lien front. So again, watch our other video if you want to learn more about how those auctions work, the bidding, where to find the properties, where to buy, all those things. But let's cover, while we're here, talk about Florida has tax deed auctions all year as well. 53 in May, 45 scheduled for June. Back on our auction calendar, we can see those. You'll notice I'm filtering by tax lien auctions right now to talk about just that auction season we have for tax liens. You can easily switch over to look at tax deed auctions, and that will now take the calendar and filter it for you, so you can see the 53 in May and the 45 in June coming up. You can also switch over and look at foreclosures, and I'll just switch back to our slide here and talk about foreclosures first. So like I said, there's about 50 a month tax deed auctions that we're tracking, but foreclosure auctions, we're looking at hundreds of those per month. 323 foreclosure auctions that we tracked in May, and we have another 302 already coming up for June that we're tracking. So far in Florida, we've got the tax lien auction season right now, tax deed auctions all year, foreclosure auctions all year, and don't forget over-the-counters all year. You can buy over-the-counter tax liens, and you can buy over-the-counter tax deeds called Lands Available for Taxes. Those are also on Parcel Fair. So don't forget all of these opportunities in Florida going on. And for the last time I'll say it, check out our recent Florida tax lien auctions video. It really gave us a chance to take a nice concentrated chunk of time and really dig into how the auction seasons work there and how just the flow of properties through those inventories. So check that out if you want to know more about the Florida tax lien auction season and see a demo of what are in the auctions. So yeah, let's move on. Maryland's also very deep into their tax lien auction season. You can see a large chunk of auctions passed over in May that have already closed out. And there were really just 3 left that were on the radar here: Allegheny, Arundel, and Washington counties. But Baltimore City just announced they're having a secondary auction. I don't really know what they're calling it, so I just put second auction here. But essentially, they released the properties today, and the auction is tomorrow for this. So it's going to be a really quick secondary sale of their leftovers. And let's switch over to our auction calendar. So passing by all the auctions that have completed, you can see there are 3,000 parcels in the I call it here the unsold auction tomorrow. If we want to just view those 3,000 properties, we're going to click on that on the calendar, and you can see a large chunk of these properties, very dense, going on here. And so these properties go into auction. Basically, it's going to act just like the other auction, and you can go click on the unsold auction, and this will tell you where to bid, where to register, and where the list is. So we do have another Maryland video if you want to know more about Maryland tax liens and how they work. But suffice it to say, this is just a continuation of the Baltimore City auction season. And don't forget, there will be auctions as early as tomorrow and into June for Maryland. And we'll keep watching for more auctions as they pop up. But this season is largely behind us at this point. Would also mention here, we have photo and video scouting services in Maryland. If you missed how to do that on any property in Maryland, if you're looking at the details, you would just click on the Order Photo Videos button here on the right, and this would hook you up with a property scout to go take those photos or videos for you. And lastly, whoops, I didn't mean to go so fast. Baltimore does have over-the-counter opportunities. There are the 2023 leftovers. 2022 leftovers are actually been moving into the Buy into Baltimore inventory, which is more like a land bank. So officially, there's about 1,700 OTC liens available. However, we have already taken the leftover properties from this year's auction and moved them into the OTC inventory, so that this was by special request from some of our users that wanted to try to look at those OTCs early and plan how to purchase them from the county. I think they're actually going to try calling the county and just buy direct. But now that we know there's a secondary unsold auction, my guess is that the county's going to say hold on until at least Tuesday, or not Tuesday, May 30th. Sorry, the Memorial Day threw me off here. So until after that secondary unsold auction is complete, I don't think they want to sell their OTCs quite yet, but they are there on the website now if you want to get a head start on that. Let's talk about Utah, because we tracked 14 auctions and a lot of them have passed. In fact, we only have 2 left officially here, Washington and Daggett. So to see what that looks like on the calendar, let's go over here and select Utah. And you see a lot of completed auctions here. Of course, you can, if you ever want to go back and see what was in an auction, you can list it right here or map it here. I know some of you like to see what was originally advertised because you might try to buy from the owner or make a investor deal with whoever purchased it. So you can always do that on Parcel Fair, look at what was at an auction, even if the auction's passed. But for now, this is the 2 remaining auctions. There's only a handful of properties remaining, 5 in Washington, 4 in Daggett. So it looks like the Utah auction season will be coming to a close. If you know any late-breaking auctions that we don't have, reach out and let us know. I can always add them. But at this point, we are closing out the Utah season. On a similar note, Alabama is coming to a close. The big 2024 tax lien auction season, it's been several headlines coming out of this. Some of the largest auctions we've ever seen in Alabama, especially in the Jefferson County area. By a scale of magnitude, just massive auctions going on. And there's been a lot of buzz about the new tax lien foreclosure process having its first successful foreclosure in the entire state just a few weeks ago. We did get to interview the attorney that worked through that, Greg Stanley, so it's on our channel here as well with our other videos. If you want to know more about the tax lien foreclosure process, that video will talk about the first one that ever completed, so it's somewhat historical. Don't forget, even though this season's coming to a close, there are always OTCs and resellers. There's always a lot going on here in Alabama just because the OTC market is so big that you can buy from multiple outlets over the counter, and the reseller market is very healthy to buy from secondary market. We do have multiple videos covering this auction season, so I'm not going to go too far in depth, but I will show you. This is our little annual tracker of where we are in Alabama at any part of the year. So there's quite a few different ways to buy, and there's different things you can buy, from liens to certificates to deeds or land banks. But this time of year, we're really in kind of that wide green section right here where we're closing out the auctions. We have new over-the-counters being released, and of course the resellers and land banks are constantly adding inventory. So essentially all markets in Alabama are open right now in some form or fashion. There are some auctions, there are some over-the-counters, and of course land banks and resellers. Just to show you where we are in Alabama's auction season, let's switch over to our auction calendar on Parcel Fair. Lots of auctions happened in May. They are complete. Just as a reminder, some of these auctions had some quick release secondary auctions that we tracked, like Jefferson Bessemer. They took their unsolds and ran those auctions the next week. We had those on the website for you on a daily basis, ready to go. But here we are at the end of the season. Basically, Houston's happening right now. They probably have actually finished by now. And then June 5th, we have Montgomery, and then June 7th, Pike. And that will close us out for the year in Alabama. As a point of comparison here, we've talked about this in a lot of our videos. There's a new system and an old system in play in Alabama. Montgomery is going to be the largest county still selling tax lien certificates in the old system. These are the ones that turn into deeds, and they're very desirable from an investor benefit perspective. Pike is one of the other last counties to auction. They are actually in the new system of tax liens, and they have an online auction. Montgomery's auction is in person, so you would need to travel to it. And we'll pop up in Montgomery's auction. I don't think we were able to look at this in a video before now, at least not a focused video, because it was the last one that was released. But plenty of opportunity here in the city. As you can see, there's on the outskirts, we do have some of the more rural-looking parcels. There are the fields, a lot of greenery, things like that going on. But in the city, there are also a lot of properties that are more on the residential side, probably rental market. And if we want to just filter this, and let's go take a look at improvements only. Let's do a minimum value of at least $10,000 just to get some of the junk out. We'll take it up to $20,000. And we filtered our list down to 1,300, so almost in half. And that will give us a more targeted list if you're trying to buy something like a potential rental property like this or one of those looking type of properties. So yeah, that's just a real quick primer on Montgomery, but yeah, Alabama coming to a close for the year. And don't forget, if you wanted to, let me go back to Alabama here. Search for reseller opportunities. We have resellers in our inventory filter here. So 280 properties available on the secondary market. And of course, there are land banks. There are different ways to buy, auctions, and over the counter. Don't forget. Right now, just this one county, Jefferson Birmingham, has 11,747 over-the-counter tax deed properties available. So quite a lot of opportunities still in the over-the-counter market for Alabama. So moving on to Iowa. This is one of the surprises in the video. We decided to squeeze in a few Iowa auctions. And right now we have 4 on the site that happen in about 20 days roughly. So the auctions we have so far are Polk, Johnson, Hardin, and Hamilton. We plan to add some more. Polk is the largest one of the bunch. We can switch over and take a peek at it really fast here. So let's switch to Iowa on the auction calendar. So Polk has 4,000 properties. That's the Des Moines area. The other 3 auctions are in the hundreds, not too many. But if we want to see what's going on in Polk County, let's do that first. A lot of different property here. You have, of course, the city area, the properties here. Whoops, I zoomed in way too far. And if you want to check these out, you essentially, here's a property report, for example, with the valuations, the address, and these are going to be tax liens. This tax lien is $883. And if you want to bid on it, you can click the auction link. And this one's, I think, the only one we're tracking right now on govease.com. I'd have to double check that. Maybe there's 2 on Govease. But some of these auctions are going to be on Govease and some are on Zeus. And the ones on Zeus, that's a little misleading. I shouldn't say that. You can bid online, but they're not all. Some of these auctions actually happen in person. So that's kind of confusing. But if you wanted to check out more about this property, we have links to the property card, the GIS map, the treasurer property search, and the auditor property report. So a lot of in-depth information if you want to dig in deeper and do further research on one of these properties. We have those links for you and your convenience just to save you the time. So again, there's 4 different flavors here. There's the assessor property card, the GIS map from the county, the treasurer's property search, and then the auditor, who also does a property report that looks like, give it 1 second, still loading. These are going to be land records. It's kind of a hybrid property card on the left and then GIS on the right. So anyways, just links to help you research properties further. So that is a quick look at Iowa. Give us a shout if you have counties you'd like to see there, but otherwise we're going to, this being our first year in Iowa, we're just going to try it out and see what our user response is. All right, Oklahoma, we're tracking 6 auctions right now. We have been adding more daily. This one I have a confession to make. We actually had 3 more counties and we're well on our way to adding others. And we ran into some inconsistencies in mapping data when we used the county's auction lists. Just some really odd inaccuracies that we did not feel comfortable putting in front of you. So we removed 3 auctions off the website. It was like Payne County and is it Osage and maybe one other county. I don't know how to pronounce it. But we had to remove a few auctions, unfortunately. They just didn't meet our quality standards to put in front of an audience. And the last thing I wanted to do is to put bad data in front of you that was 50-50 inaccurate. So anyways, we had to pare it down to these 6 auctions. The biggest ones, of course, are Oklahoma and Tulsa, probably followed by Cleveland. But we'll hop over and take a peek at the Oklahoma calendar. I really hated that this year that we had to pull some auctions. It would have been nice to have had more county coverage. And I do appreciate you guys sending me your requests. So a lot of these counties came directly from your request. Every year we do Oklahoma, Tulsa, at least Cleveland, and a few others, but LaFleur, Nowata, and Bryan, and a few others came directly from our user requests. So let's, I think last week we looked at Oklahoma County, so this week let's pull up in Tulsa's map and take a peek at that. Of course, Tulsa is a pretty big city in Oklahoma. And there's like a vacant lot here. You can see. Let's scroll over here and see if we can find something interesting. That's going to be, here's a commercial lot. That's always an interesting find. Some of you have commercial type of strategies, so that could be good. And this one is going to have land and buildings on it, so let's pop that open. And this one, of course, you see the improvement valuations along the total value. The usual research links are going to be here. If you want to go to the assessor report or the treasurer, you can pop open those reports, and we'll take you straight to the properties report, which will save you that time of finding it. But if you want a lot of detailed information about the house or just other things, these are there's actually several different ways on this page to get more information. But yeah, the county sources are usually some of the best things to go to if you want to go deeper. And lastly, if you want to buy from this auction, click the purchase option. You can see it's an in-person auction. There's the taxes due and the date. I will say one of the biggest gripes we get about Oklahoma is that they seem to have their auctions pretty much on June 10th. So, and most of them are in person, so you would either need a proxy or partners or somebody, family members, whatever, to go to more than one auction. You can't go to really more than one auction personally. So that's a bit frustrating for some of the investors there. I've also heard that Oklahoma County and Tulsa are pretty competitive. So, you can do whatever you'd like, but I would probably recommend considering looking at more than just those two auctions. It's hard to predict what kind of competition you're going to get at in-person auctions, but I think it's safe to say those two are the most popular ones. Okay, let's move on and talk about Arkansas. Yes, the auction season is here. It has been announced, and it's very impressive. 6,000 tax deeds were in the original advertisement, and these are in-person tax deed auctions with zero redemption, which some people, well, for obvious reasons, people really like zero redemption. Those auctions are going to be from July to September, and I promise we're going to have a big video about the auction season. It's just not yet. We had too many auction seasons that are either wrapping or in the middle of right now, so it may be at least another week before we get a nice Arkansas video that covers this. Could be 2 weeks, I'm not sure yet. But we will give Arkansas plenty of spotlight. It will have its moment, so hang in there if you're waiting on that. In the meantime, of course, you can go to the website, look at these auctions now, and look at the OTC tax deeds. Let's see, we have some totals. 17 new tax deeds added over the counter in May, so it's not that many. But those are very attractive to a lot of people. They are available year-round online. Let's look at the Arkansas auction season on the calendar. So July 9th is where we kick off with 5 counties and 1 auction on the first day. I know it looks like separate auctions. That's because you're looking at different counties, but they actually do happen at the same place on the same day. So, but then on contrast, on a day like July 11th, it's just 1 county. Pulaski County will be by themselves. So Arkansas does a good job being efficient and pairing up smaller counties together. You see July 23rd, there's a lot of counties on the same day. And again, check your locations on these, but those should be in the same place so you don't have to travel between locations. I'll say it again, Arkansas is one of the easiest states to work with. They really put their head in the game and try to figure out ways to make this efficient and just well organized. So here's the auction season wrapping up in September. If I had to think of a downside in Arkansas, it would probably be that the auctions are in person, and that just depends on you. It's a downside if you can't get to Arkansas, but if you can get to Arkansas, that could be a real plus for you because in-person auctions are traditionally less competitive because you don't have all that online traffic of people that are sitting in their pajamas bidding from home. So yeah, tax deed auctions in Arkansas, they're a great opportunity. We have them all on the website ready for you to check out, and encourage you to do that as the season gets closer and closer. Right, so New Jersey has a year-round auction season, and I just keep saying the auction season continues. We had a couple expire last week. That Stowe Creek and Greenwich were last week, and then moving into June, you see a nice healthy lineup here on the 3rd and the 7th. June 10th, we have 3 auctions on the same day. These are online, so they're going to be all separate websites, separate places. And then you'll see 5 more auctions towards the end of June. And I anticipate we'll see more. I don't know if June will have more auctions, but if history is any indication, we will have a steady stream of New Jersey auctions year-round. The best way to keep track of that, of course, is on our auction calendar. May is closed out, but you can see all these auctions coming up in June. They're not huge, but you do have at least a couple. Like Linden has 522 parcels. This one's 248, so they're not tiny, but we've had some in the past that had thousands of properties, and that's just not in the cards for June this year. So as more auctions are announced, you may see more to go on there. And of course, I'll say it again, and this time with emphasis, this channel, this YouTube channel has a wealth of free videos for you. Training on specific markets. We have the tax investing news videos like this, and introduction videos, and some of them are more advanced even, maybe covering OTCs or land banks. But we do have a New Jersey auctions video that's sort of a one-size-fits-all. It goes through the process for New Jersey. What are you buying? How do you buy it? And these are very consistent. So watch that video if you want to know more about New Jersey in general. Virginia, let's just cut straight to the auction calendar here. We have a chunk of auctions that have already passed by in May, and then we have more coming up. I see a problem here. This May 20th one is actually wrong. That got rescheduled, but I'll show you in a second on the calendar. But we have auctions going well into June. Did want to mention we have photo and video scouting services in Virginia. Don't forget that. Let's take a look at how you would do that on the auction calendar first. Here are the May auctions. These are expired, and then here are the upcoming ones. Like I mentioned, that May 20th misprint was supposed to be May 30th here for Henrico, or Enrico, whatever it's called. But these are going to be tax deed foreclosure auctions, and you're basically buying tax deeds in person at an auction. Some of these are online. I've seen a few, but a lot of these are going to be in person. And if you wanted to browse these auctions, you do it just like any other auction in Parcel Fair. If you like a map, you can use the map. But on small auctions like these, I might want to go see just the list of properties. It's just easier for me to go that way. Let's check another one out, maybe a little bit bigger. Yeah, here we go. And when you do that, you can sort by total value on the column heading here. You can sort by the acreage if you want to see. There's an 11-acre property. You can go by just different things, building value, land value, whatever you want. And if you see something you like, go click the link like that. Of course, I chose one without a Google Street View again. But first off, if you want to order photos and videos of the property, the blue button right here underneath the Street View image that's not there, that gives you that contact form where you can go get property scouting services from one of our friends that will drive out to the property if possible. This may be a gated community. I don't know. It's on the water. But if they can get a photo and do better than the Google Street View, they will do that for you. And lastly, the purchase option here for the auction will take you to the date, time, place, and everything that we know about the auction is right here for you to reference. You can even click on these links to get the list, or go see, here's the list and the advertisement here. So that gets you down the road on registering for the auction and knowing where to go for that auction. Okay, lastly on Virginia, I think we just have a reminder that we do have a tax deed auction intro video for you on the same channel. Again, free training on this channel for you. Just go check out that video if you want to know more about Virginia tax deeds. Tennessee is another year-round auction season. It's 12% interest deeds. It's penalty interest, which is the best kind because you get paid 12% even if it's redeemed in the first month or in the 12th month. It doesn't matter. You get 12% either way. These are one-year redemption deeds as well. We had started to slow down on auctions in May, and then we started to get a few extra ones here and there. You'll notice Carroll Pickett on May 31st and June 4th. Davidson County did their annual auction release, which they did last year as well, where they released about 6 or 8 auctions on this calendar at once. And so June is the first one of the year. That's, of course, the Nashville area, very appealing area. And then lastly, we have Knox County here. It took us a while, but we finally got an auction date and location announced for that. Always want to mention over-the-counter in Tennessee are going to be in the Shelby Land Bank. It's really just Memphis is the only place that we've seen over-the-counter tax deeds or over-the-counter properties overall. Let's take a peek at the Tennessee auction calendar. So this way you can see the size of some of these auctions. Carroll has 72. Pickett's pretty small with 17. Davidson is one of the more exciting ones with 75. You can see there are Davidson dates announced through July, August, September, all the way through November. There's just no parcels available yet. We'll get those within about a month of the auctions when they release. But June, we do know there are 75, and let's take a peek at those. Again, this is sort of northern Nashville. Let me draw the county borders for you so you can see Davidson County. Well, actually, Davidson really covers Nashville, but once you get into the suburbs around like Brentwood, Smyrna, those areas, Mount Juliet, those are going to be different counties. So we're really talking about Nashville proper, and again, this northern suburb as well. Let me go to satellite view here. So looking at some of these properties, it's, again, a very appealing area to be buying in right now. And there's a trailer park that actually looks like the trailer park is for sale. And here's some examples of where a house is for sale. So this is an example of a tax deed coming up for auction. The amount due is $4,317. The total value, according to the county, is about $190. To see more information about that, we're going to click that upcoming auction button that tells us June 12th at noon at the Metropolitan Davidson County Courthouse. The tax is due again, $4,317. If you want information on it, these links will take you to the list and just the general Davidson page with all of those scheduled out there. So, with that in mind, I do have to give you some bad news about Davidson County, and this is probably the best way to show you. This list of dates, they change pretty frequently, and last year it was very common for us to see Davidson auctions get canceled before they even happened. And it could be either owners redeeming and just paying their back taxes to avoid auction, but I'm suspicious that there's probably a lot of people in that hot market trying to buy directly from owners before their properties go to auction as well. So it's a strategy. It's kind of there's good and bad there. A little bit of controversy around it because you're essentially you're kind of getting ahead of the auction, which is legal. It's just some investors get angry about that, and so you might spend time researching a Davidson County auction only to see the properties dwindle and then the auction get canceled. And so it's just one of the frustrating things when you deal with a hot market, is that there's a lot of people trying to buy there, even directly from the owners, just cash value for the houses. So that covers Tennessee pretty well. Let's move on to Ohio, the sheriff sale auctions that we have throughout the year. We tracked 70 in May, and we have 59 tracked so far in June. We are still going to say that land banks are on the way, even though I've not made any progress on that in about 2 months. So we'll get back to it. And there's, of course, free video on our website, on our YouTube channel here that will cover how these auctions work. It's just an introduction. We'll show you the auction calendar for Ohio here. There were 70 in May. It looks like, did we wrap yet? Oh, no, there's actually a good chunk of auctions this week before May closes out, and then we're into the June auctions right off the bat. The typical Ohio auction's pretty small. I don't typically see them over 100 properties. Sometimes you'll see some with 75, 80 properties available. So you're looking at auctions that are pretty easy to go through and research. You don't have to spend a ton of time going through tens of thousands of properties in these cases. Let's move on to our next state, which is New Mexico. Things were looking a little bit dry in May, and then 4 more auctions were announced pretty quickly. And these are going to be on our auction calendar. Let's go take a peek at that. Let's change our filter to New Mexico. And you can see the size of these auctions, 72 parcels, 53, 94, 25. So not huge either. Let's open one up on our list view here. So let's take a peek at like the total value on some of the bigger houses here. This is a good example. If you wanted to bid on this property, the auction information is here, the date, time, place, and the taxes due of $33,000. So that's a pretty high starting bid for an auction. Let's sort by amount due and see. Some of these are very cheap. You can see like $300 starting bids on these. Of course, those are going to be vacant lots, not as much value involved. Moving down, we can get the higher bids. These are going to be houses. Let's pick another one and take a look at it. Oh, that's land only. Let me move a little further down the list. Let's find something with a structure. Oh, wow. We hit the bottom. I totally didn't see any structures when I did that. Let's see. This one is a structure, 1 acre, $153,000 value, and that starting bid on this one's $8,600. So there you go. That's kind of an example of what's out there in New Mexico. Again, each county won't take you too long to go through. If you click on this one, that's coming up very soon. We'll sort this one by building value. So this one actually, see some buildings towards the top. This one, yeah, we have a street view image on this one. It must be a more traveled area. But a good example of a tax deed property. This one's got some damage to it. A little overgrown. We can drive down the street and see another angle here. I thought I saw a tree on the house. I think that's just a tree near the house though, so that's good. But you would always want to expect you're not getting necessarily a beautiful turnkey house in a lot of these cases, especially when you see it's a vacant property address like this one. There could be some work involved. There could even be squatters involved. It's just one of the things to consider when you're buying tax deed properties. All right, so that's enough for New Mexico. Let's go check out North Carolina. There's always a ton of auctions going on here. Right now, we have 236 auctions that we tracked in May, 101 already scheduled for June, and they just keep coming because it's really the nature of how North Carolina works. And I highly recommend you watch our deep dive video from North Carolina because there are some very unique pieces to this market. On Parcel Fair, we're tracking pending auctions, which are not even scheduled yet. It's just we know this property is going to go to a tax deed foreclosure auction. We just don't have a date yet. You can go ahead and research those in advance, and those are called pending auctions. Then we have the scheduled auctions, which do have a date and have not had any bids yet. They're just waiting to kick off that auction. But also on our auction calendar, you're going to see upset bids. And these are like, you might want to think of them as like additional auctions, because what happens is a property goes to its first auction, a bid happens, somebody wins the bidding contest, and then they have a period of time where you can come back as somebody else can come back and upset the winning bid with a higher bid by a certain increment, depending on what you're looking at here. And so those opportunities to do the upset bids are out there, and it just makes an interesting dynamic to that market that I don't really see in a lot of places. So what that looks like on the auction calendar, again, 237 of these in May. But if you see, let's see, let me actually back into the end of May. Let's take a look at those. Here we go. So, for example, Yancey has 2 parcels coming up for an upset bid right here. And in this case, you have a building where the amount due is $12,600, and your upset bid, again, according to the county, would need to be something higher than that. I think it's by $50 increments in some counties, possibly higher in others. But essentially, you are going to work with this particular Kanaya, I think is how you say it, law firm, and that's how you would place your upset bid, is working through this auction listed here. So again, you've got quite a few auctions that are just regular scheduled auctions. Then you have upset bids when they've already had a bidder win, and you can come in and still buy the property. Mississippi had an interesting event last week. That's why I'm bringing it up. It is technically OTC season. We're nowhere close to auctions right now, But that tax forfeited lands inventory where the over-the-counters are held at the state level, right now there's 7,210 OTCs available. But what we found was in our typical month there were 20 to 30 added. And then in March we had 57, 35 April. But last week in May, 265 were added. And I know personally some of you had been watching and were able to pick up some of these properties really fast before anybody else. And here's how they were watching it. We have a lot of tools in Parcel Fair that if you always use the map and the auction calendar, you may not know about these other tools. But one of them is the OTC inventory history, where we have a history and essentially over time we're tracking the parcels available over the counter in a state. And if you select Mississippi, this table at the bottom has those 265 that were just added this month. And if you were paying attention, you would have seen those 265 added, and maybe do something where you sort the value right here, and you have your most expensive ones at the top. And let's just take this first one. This is looks like a commercial lot here, $261,000, tax deed, over the counter, and follow these somewhat convoluted steps to go find and buy the property from the state. And I say buy loosely because what you're really doing is requesting the state to give you a price quote. And they're pretty quick about this, but you're gonna go through these steps. You're going to locate the property on their site, save it, and then ask for the price quote from them. And when you get that, they give you the first price quote has a couple weeks for you to execute it, and they give you a second one, like a last final chance too. But this has been a nice market for some of you buying OTC. I don't think a lot of people are buying here. And again, we've got, since 2019, we've been tracking this inventory. You see these green bars are where parcels were added, red where they were removed. Yeah, that 265 in May were somewhat monumental when you look at least this year so far. Just a nice influx of new over-the-counter properties that showed up. Moving on to Indiana, we are between seasons because the spring tax lien auction season wrapped, and we don't have the fall auction or treasurer sales yet. They're getting posted over the summer, so keep an eye out. But we do have foreclosure auctions. We tracked 51 of those in May. There are 44 more of those scheduled in June so far, 39 already scheduled for July. You can, of course, see those on our auction calendar. You can filter by foreclosures only. Right now, that's really all that's going on anyways. But towards the end of the month, you see these opportunities here. Some of these just have one property or 2, 3, 4 properties. But there's a lot of those sales, so you can still buy in Indiana even in the off season here. Colorado, even deeper into their off season. Very similar story, though they have foreclosure auctions. There were 22 in May that we tracked and 12 more so far in June. We do have an off-season investing video for Colorado, but you can watch that if you want to know more. For now, we'll just take a look at the foreclosures coming up. 4 more happening this week before the month closes out, and then into June we have just sort of a steady stream of foreclosure auctions. Oh, look, we have them into July and August even. So we have those planned out through the summer for you already. Arizona, one of the coldest markets right now because they've been in their OTC season since about February, March. There were more than 20,000 new OTC liens added. A lot of those have already been sold, well over 6,000 by now. So you can buy over-the-counter liens in Arizona. They are available on our website, just tens of thousands of those, and year over year they keep adding more that don't sell. So if you wanted to shop like that, I'll just show you the search parameters you'd want to use here. You want to choose Arizona. Let's clear those filters out. And then you take a county like Cochise, and you could filter by the total value, put in a minimum. You could look at the taxes owed if you wanted to filter by that and say minimum maybe $500 to weed out a few. And yeah, so you could take acreage and do at least a quarter of an acre minimum. So we're down to 600 properties where originally we had 13,000. So that's how you would whittle down what's available and then go find those using our software here. it's a big market, so it does help a lot to be able to search. Texas, this is one of our newest markets, and it's very small so far. We're trying to add county auctions every week, but it's just been so many states hit their auction season right now that it's been somewhat on hold. There are 254 counties. It's going to take quite a while for us to get through them all, and 3 or 4 types of sales that they have between tax deeds and sheriff sales, and then struck-off sales. We are still going to call this a preview state until we have a nice coverage in the state. It means we're just scratching the surface and still finding our way around. So stay tuned with more auctions to come, and let us know if you have recommendations for counties you'd like to see added. Louisiana, we're really getting to sort of the edge of the markets that we are in right now. It is also a preview, and we just have coverage on some of the upcoming auctions. They're mostly pending auction right now until the first bid gets placed by placing a deposit. These auction rules are very strange compared to other states, so don't assume that you can just take another state's rules and use them to win in Louisiana. It's going to take a different playbook. It is unique to say the least, but there are some over-the-counter opportunities in New Orleans and that area, and some more land banks that are coming soon. All right, well, let's cover South Carolina. It is the coldest market because we don't have OTCs yet, and the auction season doesn't start for a few more months. So you can prepare for that and watch our auction video if you want, but for now, South Carolina is just kind of dormant on our site. And so that's it. I hope this was very useful for you. Best of luck in these auctions. There are so many to choose from, and I hope you're able to pick up a lot of properties, a lot of liens and deeds. Please like the video if this was helpful to you, and subscribe to the channel. It helps us a ton. It would help us, and it helps you actually to find out when our new videos come out so that you can stay on top of the latest developments in these markets. And if you have questions, of course, reach out in the comments on the video or contact us on our website. We always love to get in, dig in with you and figure things out and learn from each other. So start up the dialogue if you want to chat with us. And other than that, have a great week.